I'm perfectly healthy. I mean, look at me. And he went, Sam, I appreciate what you're saying, but I wouldn't be saying this to you if I believed you could make it another 4 or 5 years. Congenital hepatic fibrosis, CHF. I have fibrosis which grows in my liver. I mean, I've had a liver disease since I was diagnosed at the age of 4. And, you know, the doctors have always told me to live a normal life, never let it affect me. And to that regard, it never has, and I've never let it. When I was a baby, it was every month, every 3 months, every 6 months. It got wider and wider, that gap between doctor's appointments, because there was no progression in my disease. And life was living normally, to the point of a couple years ago, they even widened the doctor appointments to yearly. Last year, I got ill with the flu. The flu weakened me enough to contract biliary sepsis. Over the course of the next few weeks, what would happen I would keep going back in and out of hospital, not quite understanding what was going on inside my body.
You never really fully recovered, did you?
Never fully recovered from the flu.
He had extreme thirst, the colour of his skin had started to change, you had dry lips, you were a bit delirious, and I just knew something wasn't right. So made the decision to call the ambulance, and thank gosh we did actually, because I think if it was a day later, things would have been quite different.
Oh, they literally said if it had been a day later, I probably wouldn't be here. They treated me for biliary sepsis. It went through a process of ruling everything out to finally find out it was probably related to my liver condition.
For 3 days they just didn't know, did they? They were pumping you full of antibiotics.
Just hoping I would respond. Even the doctors at first, when I got into hospital, like, why were you here? It wasn't until they ran my bloods, they went, oh my God, you're going into organ failure. Probably the first time I broke down was when I called Alice. And I just remember being so delirious that I couldn't finish the phone call with Alice, that I had to hand the phone to my mum.
I'd never heard him so sad. You know, there was like a crackle in your voice actually, I feel like, and you couldn't really get the words out. And I think it was quite oh my gosh, this is actually really serious. It was on that moment, it was like, this isn't just flu, or this isn't just a long recovery of something less severe. And then you start asking yourself all of these questions, your mind goes wild with wondering what does this mean? How are they going to help him?
Being the optimist that I am, I sort of clutch onto those things. You clutch onto, okay, today is, you know, a little bit better on the CRP, liver enzymes are up or down or whatever, which way round it should be. You kind of clutch onto those things and hope for they're better the next day. And, you know, you do every marginal gain that you can do yourself, whether that be, you know, just getting up and getting into the shower, getting up and, you know, eating breakfast.
And you've explained to me, Alice, that such is Sam's temperament, that you were going to see him and he was smiling this broad grin to you, whilst inside you were all absolutely terrified for him.
I can't imagine anyone else in Sam's position would be as optimistic as he was. You know, you're faced with lots of questions, lots of unknowns. This is the first time that, you know, a disease that he's had his whole life is starting to show bad things, and you were still so positive. Not once did I ever think that he was, you know, self-pitiful. He was always just positive, always smiling. I would walk in to see him as early as I could in the morning, and he might have had an awful night's sleep, but he was still smiling, still getting food in. It was, yeah, amazing to see.
They kind of admit they don't know enough about my disease. They react to its symptoms. There's nothing they can be done to cure the disease. The disease is there, it's fibrosis of the liver, and it's just at which rate it meticulates. They said we'll just react, and, you know, whatever happens, happens, and if you get another case of infection, we'll have to give you some antibiotics. And you kind of are left a little bit bewildered by it all, in the sense you don't know what's gonna happen next, and is it just gonna hopefully just get a bit better and stay the same, and, you know, not increase at the rate it's been increasing.
Viewers have shared your engagement, they've shared your pregnancy, congratulations. But then shortly after you discovered you're pregnant, you received some devastating news which you shared with viewers.
So they referred me to another clinic, and the doctor which took over control of the whole situation reviewed the case over the last, you know, 28 years of my life, and how my disease has progressed. And I received a letter, a 4-line letter on my app, and this is the problem with technology nowadays. Looking at the case on a whole, we believe it's time to send you for liver transplant assessment. When I read that, it was a bit an emotional roller coaster. It isn't you're going to die in 4 or 5 years. It was, we don't know what's going to happen with your disease in the next 4 or 5 years. We want to be proactive while you're healthy and sort the liver transplant out now.
Alice, how did you feel when he shared with you this news about the transplant?
I think it's very easy to spiral because the first thing that you want to do is look online as to what does that mean, and what you see online is not a positive thing. There's statistics online when you look up, survival rate of a transplant and what happens after, and there's scary figures to look at. Sam doesn't fit into those categories. A lot of people having transplants have other health issues or are a lot older. Sam's very fit, healthy and young, and that's all information that we've, got to know since finding that out. But the first thing you think is obviously quite scary, but I think the most important thing at the time was being there for Sam, being strong for Sam.
And when we were talking earlier, you said that when you first found out, it was going through your head the life prognosis that you had always anticipated living to 90 or 100.
It's a hard one to swallow because obviously you think your mortality rate's going to be till 80, 90, and to suddenly go, oh, okay, well, the statistics are online is, but making it past 1 year, 90%, 95%, making it past 5 years, something like 80%, and by the time it's making it past 25 years, it's like 50-50. And I'm like, I was thinking I was going to outlive 60, and to know it's 50-50 or by 53 is freaking crazy, and that's such a long journey to go through. But then you have to, I'm an optimist, and you have to give the context. The people dragging the average lifespan or mortality rate down of a liver transplantee are people who have received liver transplants when they are over the age of 70, 80. So normally their mortality rate wouldn't have been, more than 5 or 10 or 20 years anyways. By opening up, potentially I give people a chance, or people hope when they go through this journey, similar to myself, younger than myself, older than myself. Oh, Sam from In Chelsea did this and he was absolutely fine. And then there's the other side of the coin, which is very much even more valuable, which is the organ donation side. Open communication is important because if you believe you did want to donate your organs after your death, then it is a necessity that your family know that, and through the organ donation register is a best way of doing that.
I understand that after the assessment, you're then planning on marrying very quietly in December, and then the baby is due on February the 14th.
Yeah, I mean,
fast pace. Sam did tell me one thing when I met him, which is life will never be boring with him, and he's not wrong about that.